Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Middle Age Gaming podcast. We're here with Adam, Antoine, and myself, Korean. Thank you very much for joining us early in the morning or late in the evening, wherever you are. Please, we'd also like to mention just before we start that next week is daylight savings time in the States. So the podcast will be changing an hour later. So it'll be 10 a.m. Taiwanese time and will be 9 p.m.
It'll be
Canadian
the
9
time.
p.m.
same
for me.
time.
It's the
Oh, same
same
time.
time. Exactly. EST
Yeah.
doesn't change.
My math doesn't work anymore. Thank you, guys. So, as usual, today we're going to be talking about games that we have been playing, then do our responses segment, and then talk about today's topic, which is breaking the fourth wall, which is something I know very little about because I don't understand it a lot. But Antoine will explain it to us a little bit later. Antoine, what have you been playing these days?
So yeah, for the past nearly months now, past 3 weeks, I've been playing Chrono Trigger, which is like as I was saying, a blast from the past. It's an excellent game. I'm about mid game now, and it was funny because maybe like an hour before the show or something like this. Actually, I had the bad guy, with uh, who did some kind of heroic action, and you can start seeing the hearing music starting up, and the bad guy stops the music, say, "No, not this one. Cue the other one," and then the bad guy music starts. Say, "Yeah, that's the right one." So that's completely meta and completely with the theme of today. So yeah, I guess I'm mid game, and I'll try to finish by next week, but no promises there because Eric that you have seen on the show a while ago now. I started playing Tower of Fantasy and asked me to join him on this. So I'll try to finish Chrono Trigger to start this one.
Adam, what about you?
In my own time, I've been mostly playing Cyberpunk. I'm still enjoying all the glitches and weirdness of what's going on in that game. But for the stream, I've been doing Home Sweet Home, which is a horror game from Thailand. And it started off, as kind of like, oh, okay, getting into it, getting kind of spooky. And the more I play it, the less spooky it seems. Just because you start seeing all the, I guess, gamification of it, the AI, you're starting to exploit the AI and whatnot. Uh, so, yeah. Yeah, so the more I play it, it's kind of like yesterday I had a situation where it's basically the game's equivalent to a boss fight where what it is I'm in a room, there's all these desks everywhere, there are these red threads strewn about across the ceiling, and there's a ghost in the room kind of chasing you, and if she sees you she'll come after you, so you need to put holy water on the red threads, uh and that will turn them to white threads. And if she walks underneath them, they'll create like a barrier. And if she walks through the barrier, then what'll end up happening is, hang on, okay. What'll end up happening is she'll kind of dissipate and disappear for a while, and then you need to use a hacksaw to get through some rebar that's holding the door shut. But what so I was going through and I was like, oh, this is kind of you know, difficult because you don't know where she's gonna show up and whatnot, and then I figured out that I could just kind of exploit the AI. There's this tower of desks right near the door, and you can kinda see through it. So I'll just kinda, like, kinda move slowly around it, and she kinda follows your direction because she's always kind of approaching you. So I'll wait till she's on the other side, run over to the door, start hacksawing it, and it was kind of a bullet sponge kinda boss situation where it's like, "Okay, get her into position. Okay, she's far enough away from me. Alright, let's get 6 hacksaws in. Okay, turn around. Alright, she's getting close. Let's reposition her." And it was just like it just took the horror completely out of it. It was just kinda like, "Alright, now this is tedious. It's no longer scary." Um, so it definitely yeah, it's kinda funny because when it's doing the kind of exploring situation, it can be really kinda tense, but when you get into these kind of ghost chase sequences, it becomes actually less scary and more of like, okay, how can I exploit the AI? Or, you don't necessarily know where you are, where she is sometimes. And so you just kind of like slowly turn a corner and she's there and she just immediately kills you. And you're like, oh, all right, I know what I'm supposed to do. So let me just go through these 5 steps again. And it's like, oh, okay, she killed me then. Let's go through these 6 steps now. Okay, now I've died again. Let me go through the 7 steps. So you just keep repeating and learning a little bit more each time. So it's kind of turned into a Dark Souls kind of thing. You know, fight, die, repeat. So, but yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it. Otherwise,
I'm really curious about Cyberpunk because I played it when it came out, and like even now, I think what is it, like version 1.6, there are
hmm
still bugs and glitches and stuff.
oh, there are so many bugs and glitches. I was talking to Antoine about it last week. Like, there's this thing where you'll be walking around and occasionally the textures will get weird and everybody and everything just starts flickering through every possible texture of that thing. So like people's faces will start flickering between all the different skin textures, and or their clothes will start, because you can have a, like, say, a shirt, and that t-shirt can have, you know 6 or 8 different skins, or graphics on it, and it'll just start flickering through all of them at once. And so that's a big one. uh They'll do things where you'll have a reflective surfaces, and the reflective surfaces, instead of being reflective, they just blast out light, and so the screen becomes blinding. I've had it crash. I've had it crash probably more times than I've ever had any game crash on on any PlayStation. So it'll crash fairly regularly. Um, yeah, things with like, I was supposed to hide a body, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just put it down on the floor here around the corner." So I put it down, turn around, turn back, and it's gone. Like, it just fell through the floor. So bodies falling through floors. I had a car one time that, I called the car, and the car is, you can only see like maybe the top half of a foot of the car, because the rest of it's kind of digging its way through the ground like some sort of submarine, like, that's just breached the surface, and then as soon as it gets to you, it just bam, pops out of the ground, and all sorts of weird stuff. Yeah, still super glitchy.
That's disappointing because I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I've noticed it on YouTube and YouTube Shorts. I mean, you probably have that. The since Cyberpunk Edge Runners, people are replaying it and adding mods and a whole bunch of stuff, and it looks. I'm like, oh my god, I'd love to play this again. And then after what Adam said, I'm like, nope, definitely not. I don't have time for bugs anymore.
It's still fun. I mean, it's still fun, but yeah, it's super glitchy. I was thinking about doing a, kind of a trailer video like what I did with, Ghost of Tsushima or something like that. And how everyone's like, "Oh, the top 10 reasons you should play Cyberpunk," and I was thinking about doing a tongue in cheek, the bottom 10 reasons you should play Cyberpunk, and just treating all the glitches as game features. Like, oh, in the future,
Should be great.
they're your clothes. If you don't like your red shirt, it could be blue or every color. So like, look at this representation of our future. I was thinking about doing
Definitely,
something
I
like
think that
that.
would be a good idea.
Yeah. I'll probably do that at some point. I've taken some, recordings off of it to prepare for that, so don't know when it'll
So
get done. I still need to do my, what do you call it? My,
That's
YouTube short
diverse.
for Dust Divers, which is
Yeah.
taking forever. Um, Fortunately, I don't have the time to that I would like to dedicate to these things, but it'll come out eventually, yeah.
yeah, just to say that if you're like me and you didn't see Adam playing Home Sweet Home, you can always do so on the replay on YouTube, Facebook, and of course Twitch on Middle Age Gaming. That's just a little commercial part of the show. That's it.
Yeah, 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 you can still check it out, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I
And I
will.
gotta say as well, Antoine's voice is louder today when you speak into the microphone because I think one of the things I realized is that like we have Adam is the loudest when I'm editing the podcast, and then it's me, and then Antoine, it's you. And I think maybe for people live streaming or watching the live stream, they can't hear you very well for some reason.
So should I speak louder?
No, no, no. I think
No,
when you
it's the
speak into the
distance.
microphone, it works better because like when you speak into the side, like
Here.
oh god, yeah,
Yeah, that's really loud.
that's much better.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then Adam, remind you to not only to do the single capture frame for when somebody speaks, so I can do those YouTube shorts.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because I know you did it. You just did it for the promo last week.
Well, because we have the
Yeah, but
game trailers going on, but you wanna do it for the game, I can do that, no problem.
yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, since we have a little bit of time, like, what do you think works better? Like, do it us or do it on the game trailers?
Oh, I have a way to do it on the game trailer where it takes a full screen.
Okay. No, no,
I could
because you
try
know,
that today.
um, because I did it on my crypto channel. Like I've started doing like according to the new algorithms for YouTube and TikTok. You know, like the first length you should do for a short is 5 to 11 seconds. Second length is 20 to 30 seconds, and the last length is 60 minutes. Oh, 60 seconds is the longest you should do it, and that should be the minimal amount of shorts. And like in the last, I did one video last week on the crypto channel and had like 500 views between three shorts. And the trend has continued, so I think it might be a good thing to try for us. Um, I- so let's do this. Let's try. I'll try not to change. You don't need to change anything today, and we'll just do the trailer view, and then I'll break it up into three different shorts of. Can't believe attention's this bad. 10 seconds and 20 seconds and 60 seconds, and we'll see how it goes.
Fair enough.
Okay, and then I'll end off very quickly with my game. I have been playing Warhammer Demon Hunters, which was on sale like 25% off. It will end. The sale will end tomorrow. So if you still want to buy it, this episode, you'll be listening to this right now. You can still buy it. Really fun, but really freaking difficult. They added a whole bunch of board game rules to this as well. Um, but it's like really like so graphically awesome. If you play Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 2, you're like, oh my god, this is nice. And in this game, like they show you the extent of what people in power armor can do. Like the cool stuff is like there's none of this like 98% chance to hit and then you miss. You guys are space marines, you hit all the freaking time. You never miss at all. But it's still freaking hard. Like I spent about 6 hours and then I messed up so many times I had to restart. So I restarted a second time, and then I was almost going to restart a third time because I got to this part of the mission, like, oh my god, I, I don't know how to handle this. So, but it's fun. Absolutely runs beautiful at 4K. Um, like when the Space Marines climb up a wall, you can see the arms latch onto the wall and pull up, and they smash through the wall. Or when they want to go through a door, they take a big metallic power armored foot, kick the door shatters into pieces. Right in the NVIDIA GeForce PhysX, it's just amazing. And then like the voice acting is really cool. The typical British accent. I don't know why Space Marines are British. Um, and so they say, when the guys are running like brothers with me, and everyone follows, and you've got a whole bunch. Like it's not like a typical game where you start off and you have a limited selection of weapons. You have access to uh, different sorts of melee weapons, different sorts of guns with different stats. You have access to Terminator armor very early on, so you can class your Space Marine in armor. That's probably, I've been thinking about it in my sleep for some reason. Terminator armor is probably about the size of 2 floors of a house. Um, but it's absolutely amazing. Like I would even start this a third time. That's how much fun it is. But it is hard. It is like I realize I can't just arbitrarily upgrade my guys, which is what I usually do in these kind of games because I'm too tired. So, but it's fun. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for a turn-based strategy game. Even if you're not a Warhammer fan, you might get put off just because it is fairly difficult. I started off on normal difficulty and I had to go down to easy. And even at easy, it's still pretty hard. Where if you don't make certain choices, I can imagine myself possibly getting screwed after 15 hours and starting again from the way back in the beginning because I made the wrong choices. So definitely something to think about. And yep, that is it for me. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's gaming segments. As usual, don't forget you can tweet at us, twitter.com/gamingaged, twitter.com/Ladisai, twitter.com/Antoine Toure, which I always forget how to say your last name, even though we've been friends for so long. Twitter.com/Korean Padiachi. We're all here. Now that I know what Antoine's Twitter handle is, I'm going to be tagging him more often, and his phone's going to be lighting up like New Year's Day. Or New Year's,
Oh,
not New Year's Day. Um, so before we get started in today's wonderful topic for everybody except me, let's talk about our wonderful sponsor, which is Newsly.com. We'd like to thank Newsly very much for sponsoring us and including us on their podcast section of their app. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural voice. Antoine brought up, the new Prime Minister of England, which is in and dealing with the horrible English economy. There's President Lula of Brazil, which is finally in and kicked out that Trump-like Bolsonaro um, from Brazil politics, as of yesterday. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time. If you're a busy person like me, you don't like to sit down and read, right? You can listen to your Newsly news articles and do your cleaning, can work on your PC or on your motorcycle, whatever it is you like to do. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow topics, politics, Bitcoin. My brother just sent me an article yesterday while I was asleep that Bitcoin is now available in South Africa's most popular grocery store. You can go with your Bitcoin Lightning wallet and buy your groceries, right? And it costs about like 1 cent transaction fee, which is pretty much what you pay, or the store pays for Visa or MasterCard anyway. And they have podcasts as well where you can find us and a bunch of other really cool podcasts. Please don't forget to listen to those. Download Newsly for free now from newsly.me or from the link in the description. Please use promo code Middle Gaming, and this allows Newsly to say that you guys support us, and they will support us because you support us. And that is it, Newsly. Thank you very much, and we will definitely keep doing this. As usual, guys, support us, and we will move on to today's topic, which is breaking the fourth wall. Antoine, please tell us, what is that about?
Okay, I'm gonna tell by us. I'm gonna talk to Korean because apparently you didn't really understood the whole force wall stuff. So it's what we call meta usually. We all experienced really terrible meta, and usually in tutorial of game. What you like in game, especially when there's a good story, is immersion. You like to be immersed in the story. Meta is when the game is telling you, here, if you want to jump, click X, or if you want to go there, do this action on your pad. That destroys immersion, right? Because you were following a story and all of a sudden, you get instructions. That's not really good. But some games are much better than other on this. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about these games because I actually watched a stream on one of those and I really, really had a big laugh on it because it's really beautifully made and I'm going to recommend this game. Yeah, if you two players, alone it's going to be a bit hard. But yeah, so which order do you want us to start? Are
It
you
always
yeah.
starts with the person who proposes the topic, so it's got to be
Fair
Antoine,
enough.
Adam, and me.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Adam, Antoine, and me. So that means Adam's first.
Be Antoine, Adam, and him. What he meant to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
God, yes.
I think so, but just wanted to confirm. Okay, fair enough. Um, so if you're a middle-aged gamer like us, you should know Dungeon Keeper. Adam, does Dungeon Keeper tells you something about?
Hmm?
It's Dungeon Keeper. Do you know Dungeon Keeper?
Yeah, I know Dungeon Keeper from way back.
Okay. It's from way back, yeah. And I guess you know the good old RTS Warcraft 2 and 3.
Of course.
So the game I want to talk about today is Dungeons 3. It's kind of an unofficial sequel to Dungeon Keeper, because they don't have the license. But what's very meta about it is your main character, Talia, is the daughter of the absolute evil, and her aim is to destroy the world for fun mainly. And she talks a lot with the narrator because you have the narrator explaining the story, which is already very meta. And Talia talks to the narrator and say, "Hey, wait! You said there was the ogre should have been 2 meters. Why is he at least 3 meters? Oh, sorry. Let me just reduce that. Okay, so a 2 meters ogre was in front of the force of evil, and they would recruit him. Basically, there's a little back and forth between Talia and the narrator. All the time they made lots of reference to dungeons and other licenses. And if you really like this kind of game, you should get it very soon because there's so many infringement. I don't even understand how they can still be up. To be honest, I thought there would be a lawsuit against this game, but apparently not. It's an extremely fun game. A bit hard if you're alone. I was mentioning Dungeon Keeper and Warcraft. It's really literally a mash of two games in one. You play in each game underground, where you create your dungeon, very Dungeon Keeper. You create your rooms, you upgrade your rooms, you recruit your monsters, you create your dungeons because heroes come to attack your dungeon exactly like in Dungeon Keeper. But you also have this RTS. All the of course the room building is your base building underground, but you take your goblins, your ogres, your banshee, your army to go above ground and attack targets very much like you would do in a Warcraft 3, for instance, or in similar kind of RTS. So you really have this dichotomy, if I could say, this dual play. Alone is hard because you really have to manage your dungeons, because not only the heroes are attacking when you start digging, and it was the same in Dungeon Keeper. You dig too hard and you have spiders, you have dragons, you have bad surprises waiting for you if you just dig and you start to look above ground, and then you come back to your dungeon and you see a big attack of spiders. That's quite stuff. So it's much better to play two people because it works flawlessly, very good. So one take care of the dungeon, one take care of above ground attack on of the force of good, of course, because you're attacking good. And it's an extremely funny game that I really, really recommend. You just even the DLCs are same quality as the original game. So yeah, run for it.
Who do you play it with?
Sorry.
Who did you play it with? Because you said
No, no,
much better.
I was watching the stream.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because it's when I'm working, I'm watching stream of game. I don't have time to play, and the guys were quite silent because really the back and forth between Talia and the narrator is funny enough that you never have really time to breathe, I would say. Like even while you are creating your dungeon, she will always have a funny word because she has kind of a mental issue as well. Like she has a good side and a bad side. So sometimes the good side is like hey, I know we're already destroying their town and all, but you think we can negotiate a treaty maybe and go for a cup of tea? Ah, shut it, good side. Anyway, she talked to herself quite a lot as well.
okay. Um, so because I was just wondering about the difficulty of this, and like because I remember seeing this game on Steam, and I've like, okay, this looks really cool. It looks like Dungeon
It's
Keeper.
cool. Mm.
I remember growing up watching my older brother playing Dungeon Keeper. Being the 10-year difference, so me and my younger brother would sit next to him and watch him play. Um, and I'm like, okay, this looks cool, but I'm just worried about like difficulty, and like you said, like if you really have to have two people, that's impossible. Like if
No, no, no. You don't really have to have two people, but you need to manage it well because, of course, the latest maps are gonna start being hard, and it's not like you can just dig, stay in your dungeon, and do your room until you are ready to go up. You can't do that because of course you have a technology tree, and you need certain point of I don't know if you see it in English, but evilness, let's say. And to have evilness, you need to go and corrupt temples above ground. If you don't go above ground and destroy temples to corrupt them, you'll never get this point of evilness. You'll never be able to upgrade your army or get enough point to upgrade your rooms and stuff like this. But there's a big management part as well, like very base building. Your room at first would work at 80% efficiency until you put a door. Then the door add another 10% efficiency, etc., etc., etc. You need to keep your army fed, so you need to create a room with chickens. You need to keep your army paid, so you need to dig out all the time for gold and mine for gold, because if you don't pay them, not so good. You need specific type of monsters to run certain machines. Look, so for instance, you need Banshee to run the brewery, I think, because if you give beer to your monsters, they be happy, and then they be they are stronger. Of course, beer make you stronger.
nice. Adam, any thoughts or questions?
No, I remember seeing like advertisements for the original Dungeon Keeper. But yeah, I haven't seen this one, and I'm kind of surprised that it's on console because it doesn't seem like it would be a very console friendly game. Just because
Oh,
RTSs are typically not control wise.
oh, come on. Red Alert and Warcraft 3 were on console. I,
They were
wa-
on
Much
I was
console,
later.
but I
playing.
mean the control schemes of using a controller just weren't as
Oh, I played Red Alert on PlayStation, and I was very happy with it. So
Really?
yeah, of
Oh,
course.
okay. 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 I
It's
was so
not. It's not.
surprised.
It's not the best, of course. But you have people playing Final Fantasy 14 on console. You can do everything, right?
that was a little bit different. I mean, for me, it was mostly the because with RTS, speed is super important, and
Of course.
being able to like move across the map and stuff like that. And with a mouse, you can just zip across the map real quickly, but with an analog stick, usually it scrolls relatively slow because otherwise it's like really hard to get where you want because it just like either flies in either direction or scrolls really slow and selecting units and stuff. So for me, it was mostly like I felt like if an RTS is slower, it works better on console, or not better, but if it's slower, it can work okay on console. But for RTSs where you need to do like lots of actions relatively quickly, like StarCraft on console is it's just much more difficult. I feel like the pace needs to slow down.
No, no, I completely agree with you. For argument's sake, I imagine they just wanted to make more money and get it on console.
Yeah, I haven't
I,
tried it. Maybe they figured out something like yeah, Final Fantasy 14. They came up with that really innovative crossbar, which makes everything super intuitive and makes it really easy to do. Like I was talking to Phil, and he was saying that even when he plays on PC, he still uses the controller sometimes, just because it's so well designed for how it works. So maybe they found a way to make it work. But yeah, in my experience, like with Warcraft 2, it felt much slower than it did on PC.
But on a PC with another person, and you would have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
so, Adam, what about your game?
Okay, so I went with. Let me switch this out here. Uh, and oh no, there we go. So I went with Metal Gear Solid. I had a really hard time choosing because there are so many fourth wall breaking games. I mean, Sims does it all the time. Disgaea does it all the time. What's the other one that I was debating on? I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I was like, how can you do a fourth wall breaking episode and not make a mention of Metal Gear? That's just not a possibility in my mind. So I just figured like nobody else had it. I have to put it up. So I went with Metal Gear Solid. It's been doing this for a really long time. I'm not sure if they did it in the original like Nintendo games. I don't think they did, but definitely Metal Gear Solid. It started with the Psycho Mantis fight where he can read your memory card as well as your button inputs. So, just that acknowledgement of the player, he's like, "Oh, I see you enjoy Castlevania," So the fact that the character is aware that he's in a game and is talking to the player was always a lot of fun. The trailer I'm using today is from Ground Zeroes, which was pretty notorious. People still reference it as kind of a meme, where Snake shows up at one point in the trailer, looks the camera dead in the eye, and says, "Kept you waiting, huh?" So, the fact that, Snake in the trailer acknowledges that he's in a trailer, just things like that. There are several, mentions where, especially when you get into the what is it? The comms where, for instance, they'll say things like, "Oh, if you're having trouble, maybe you should consult the manual," and things like that, So, even in one of the games at one point, I think they said, uh you know, you're supposed to contact somebody. And he says, if you need the number, look it up in the manual. But the manual is actually the game manual has it in there. So you have to like crack open the case and look in the game manual to find the code and whatnot. So yeah, I figured this game is very meta and very aware of itself. And it goes back and forth between, it's like, oh, everything's really immersive. And then they'll just completely like, look at the look at the screen and just talk directly to the player and then just go back to what they were doing. So figured you can't have a fourth wall breaking episode without a mention of Metal Gear in some way.
I think it was in MGS1 that when you get tortured after you lose all of your codec, line, and you have to go on the manual to get back. Okay, so you have to call the colonel. You have to do. Okay.
Yeah, there are things like that, and then, what was it? There's times where they'll talk about, I think they mention Meryl not being from Policenauts, so they'll actually mention or they'll make references to games that that characters have been in outside of Metal Gear. Uh, so they, like they'll say like, "Oh, how's blah 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 doing these days?" And referencing a character that doesn't exist in Metal Gear, but does exist in another game that this character has also been in. Uh, yeah. So it's just they've always have a lot of fun in it. It's very tongue in cheek. It's kind of a shame that Kojima will not be involved moving forward. So we haven't had a post Kojima game yet. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, where they take it, and how successful they are. Um, I don't know if I will stick with the series, but when they come up with a new one, I think I'll definitely check it out just to see, where it's going at least. But yeah, we're still waiting for the next installment, or seeing if they decide to break from the Metal Gear Solid and do Metal Gear something else because Solid was kind. I guess you had the original Metal Gears on Nintendo, and then Solid was something a little bit different, and maybe they'll take it in a new direction. Maybe they'll do the more like the what was it? What was the one with Raiden? Metal Gear Rise,
Uh,
something like that.
no.
'Cause I don't think Kojima was involved with that one.
Revenge?
If Revengeance, yeah, 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 because that one was done by
Revengeance.
Platinum Games.
With lots
So
of good music on it.
yeah, so I
Great
don't think
music in
Kojima was involved
Revengeance.
with that one. So they definitely can do it well. We'll just have to wait and see how they do.
Yeah, I saw what is that dude's name? Oscar Isaacs from Moon Knight. He's pushing for him to be Snake in Metal Gear Solid in the TV show.
Yeah.
Uh, so I thought that was pretty cool because I've always seen, as a outward person looking in, I've always seen Metal Gear games. I've always watched the trailers because I'm like, oh, these trailers look really cool. And of course, I never played any because I've never owned a PlayStation. But yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah. So my game is Batman Arkham Asylum. It is the first. Did I play any other Batman game? But it was the one that I played that I really really liked. It was really fun. It was um, it was just like this game where you felt like the fighting system was the best thing at the time. I think. Um, because like there's a challenge in this game called Batman verse 1 versus 100, where you're on a roof and you're fighting literally 100 other people on a roof, and that's famously based off of the early 90s Batman TV show. When Adam and Antoine and I were kids, they had like a scene of that in one of their cartoon episodes where Batman was fighting like 100 people. Um, but yeah, apparently this game breaks the fourth wall, and now that Adam and Antoine have talked, I sort of understand it a bit better. um, I feel like it's not this game though, because I'm like I googled this and I'm like this is the game. I feel it's like Batman Arkham Knight that does this because in Batman Arkham Knight, you're haunted by Joker all the time, and he's like, "Yo, blah 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 blah," and he's like, "Eh," and he points to the screen and stuff. But anyway, this is the reference. Like it could be this the Arkham Knight or it could be Arkham Asylum, but I mean you're always dealing with a Joker some way or another, and he's always making stupid jokes about the real world that you're in and the game, um, and it's fun. It's really cool. I love this game. I think this was great. I understand why people don't like the Arkham games after this because they didn't really change much. Like between this game and Arkham Knight, the only cool thing you got was the convertible hover tank. That's still really really cool because there's like these cutscenes every time. Whenever Batman calls for the car like literally breaks through public infrastructure and comes around. You're like, oh my god, that's like $1 million gone down the drain right there. Um, so it's a really fun game. If you're into breaking the fourth wall, I would definitely suggest it. It's one of the games I want to go back. I played Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was the first game that I wanted to play in 4K because in Arkham Knight, it shows you how much video RAM you need, and you need 8 GB of video RAM to play at 4K. Um, so it's definitely a game you should definitely give it a go if you like Batman. I mean, I think Arkham Knight is as good as Arkham Asylum, just not innovative enough for those people who always need new things. And there's definitely that whole fourth wall breaking element in all of the games. including there's the one in between Batman Arkham Origins where you just play as Bruce Wayne learning to be Batman. But yeah, that is it for me. Do you guys remember what we were doing next week? Because I already forgot.
Do not remember.
Then let me
Should be
quickly
your
look it
week,
up.
right?
It is my week. Oh God, yes. Okay, cool. So next week, what I wanted to talk about was mobile gaming, but in the vein of, do you need $1,000 phone to play mobile games, good looking mobile games? That's what I wanted to say. Like very similar. It's a bit of a hardware episode, a bit of a episode from Adam's vein of low GPU power games. Whereas in like, have you reached the singularity point where you can buy like a $300 phone and still play Asphalt 9 or Apex Legends on your phone or something like that, and does it still run well? Can you still enjoy yourself? Can you still just have a phone as your only solution to gaming in your life if something bad happened and we couldn't play our Switches or PlayStations or PCs anymore? um, Something like that. That is the idea for next
Need to find an excuse to skip. That's why.
week. All right, guys. Any final words before we end up today's show?
Yeah.
Cool, then very good. And Antoine, thank you for today's topic. And you guys, thank you for tuning in and listening. And don't forget to leave reviews on your iOS app because, like most podcasts, we are primarily dominant on the Apple iPhone store. Um, Please come check us out on YouTube, right? Review there, leave a comment on the video. Let us know what you think. You can email us middleagegaming2020 at gmail.com. And then we will see you guys next week at the new time, 10 a.m. Taiwanese time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you're in the States. All right, and then see you guys later.
Catch
Bye
you
bye.
later.